Next, we are going to have a discussion from two presenters from Northern Ireland. And this is Agape and Forgiveness Education Innovations in Northern Ireland with Mr. Cormac McCabe and Mr. Philip Lavery. Mr. Cormac McCabe graduated from Queen's University, Belfast, and received his postgraduate certificate of education from the University of Lancaster in England. He has been teaching for over 25 years to primary 7, which are 10 to 11-year-old students. He currently teaches in St. Malachi's Primary School, Castlewellan, and has been vice principal of the school for the past 8 years. He is married with 3 children and has a very active interest in all sports, coaching many of the children whom he has taught in his local sports club.
Now I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Philip Lavery. Mr. Philip Lavery is the Vice Principal of Mount St. Michael's Primary School, Randallstown, Northern Ireland. The school is values-based, one of which is forgiveness. He has been in this post for 19 years and has been teaching for 32 years. He is the chair of a 21-school educational partnership moving forward together with a focus on collaborative working and peace building. He's a firm believer in the positive power of exercise and the outdoors. And as such, his school promotes the daily mile in school, a perfect mix of both and accessible to all pupils. The school has promoted the benefits of daily exercise on the mental and physical health of pupils and staff. Let's welcome Mr. McCabe and Mr. Lavery to the stage.
Good afternoon. I never certainly thought that 2 years on from listening to an online information seminar by Dr. Enright that I'd be fortunate enough to be able to present here at this international conference. And more to the point, I didn't think I'd be presenting either. So a little bit nervous, but we'll be ready to go. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the people who have made this possible, especially the Stranmillis team in Northern Ireland. And also today to thank all the speakers who have spoken so far. They've made it very interesting and enjoyable and very much thought-provoking for me. I'm very much on a very first stage. This is the first year that our school has been involved with this program. And I'm very much on the very early steps of my own journey as well. 1984 was a big year for me. I was put on a plane at 11 years of age and sent to Minneapolis. I know what you're thinking. My parents didn't like me. No, my parents loved me. And they did that because they wanted to give me a new experience about life. Brought up in Northern Ireland, a country with divided past. Things are getting better, but my parents wanted something better for me. They wanted me to experience life, cultures, people, and they wanted my family to get that benefit as well. So it was a huge, huge honor for me to go. In fact, I've just come from Minneapolis. This is my 9th year that I've been backwards and forwards between my host family. They went backwards and forwards in weddings as well too. So it's been a huge plus for my family. Unfortunately, some of the children whom I met from a different faith background, I lost contact with them. So while there was very much positives for the whole program with my host family and the relationships built with them, probably some of the issues that should have been resolved at the time for me aren't. But again, that's part of my journey that I'm on as well too. This is Castlewellan, a small town. Population, just over 2,000 people, and it lies between the Mourne Mountains and Slieve Crib, and it's a population of about 3,000. Beautiful looking. There's our lake, castle, church, everything's beautiful. Unfortunately, 25 years ago, it wouldn't have been the greatest place to grow up in. So that's why that opportunity was given to me, and that's why I'm so delighted to be here as well. This is my school. This is our crest. And and this is the most important thing about our school, which is our school vision. Again, everything is about promoting Christ at the centre, which ties extremely well in with all about forgiveness. And that's one thing. We do have 2 words that we have in our school, which are to smile and dream. And that's what we tell the kids when they enter our school at 4 years of age and when they leave. That the most important thing that they do is smile and dream. We want happy kids. We want happy parents. We don't always get it right. The dream bit is a bit difficult to explain to a 4-year-old because they think of dreaming as dreaming. But we want them to aspire to be whatever they want to be. And that's the most important thing for us. So here's a few of the kids. Now, just a few videos of what the kids think of school.
I love St Malachy's because everyone is unique and respectful. St Malachy's will push you to pursue your dreams. In St Malachy's, we are all unique in our styles and talents. All of our school knows to smile and dream and, most important, have fun. All the teachers, staff and classroom assistants are kind. From the day I started, the teachers, all the staff and Mr. Need have been so kind and good to me. I have made great friends and they have been my friends since nursery.
As parents,
I have been a student of St Malachy's Primary School for 7 years and I really like it here because the teachers are so kind and helpful. All the subjects are really interesting and fun and our school canteen is really delicious and yummy. All the teachers here are really good at encouraging you to try your best. Ever since I started St Malachy's, I have learned so much and have enjoyed every minute of it. We have an amazing principal called Mr. Reid and he is so kind and funny. Our school provides extra activities such as hip-hop, Evo soccer, Gaelic, football, hurling or camogie and school trips. Our school really encourages us to read and take part in class assemblies. Every pupil is in a team and it is great fun competing each week for the most team points. I have been so lucky to have been a pupil here.
I'm sure for all those who work in education would agree that teaching young people is a very rewarding job, although not always financially. I wanted this program to have a positive impact on my class. We were always taught, know thy impact. What are you doing it for? What are the kids going to get out of it? So for me, the most important thing with this program was, what are the kids going to get out of it? And then I realized I actually started getting something out of it. I started reading the materials, started to plan what I was going to deliver the lessons, and I knew how to make them relevant to the pupils so that they would engage in them. And the more I read, the more I realized I had issues in my own past that probably needed me to a deeper understanding of forgiveness. So for me, I'm on that journey. And again, as Dr. Henright, I struggle to forget them. They do surface. And I do need to heal a little bit emotionally for different things as well too. So thank you for putting me on this journey. Just a few slides of what the children, so obviously we read the story, Rising Above the Storm Clouds, which the children absolutely loved. It's a lovely story. And it's a nice story to start off the program with. The kids enjoyed it, they enjoyed the artwork. And then we done the little studies and asked what the children, what they felt forgiveness was.
Forgiveness is like sailing out of a rough storm into a nice calm ocean.
Forgiveness is like a phoenix rising from the flaming fire of hatred and discourage into the light of happiness and love.
And at that point, I'll just tell you a little story. One of the kids, there was a bit of an argument in the yard one day, and he came up and he said to me, those children won't let me play. This was about 7 or 8 weeks into the program. And I said, what happened? Well, they've told me I'm no good at sport, they won't let me play, they don't want me on my team, they don't want them on their team, and they won't play with me. And I don't care, I'm not forgiving them. I went, okay, well, I put my sensible teacher head on and went, well, I'm not forcing you to forgive anybody because we've talked about this. I can't make you forgive anybody. So he thought about it and he says, muttered under his breath, I'm not doing that forgiving stuff, that's it. So he walked off. And about 2 days later, I seen the same child with the same group of children playing away happily. And I thought to myself, what's going on there? So I didn't ask him, and I asked the other kids, and I asked him, well, what happened? Well, he just came up and told us that, he forgave us. He understood that he wasn't the best at sport, but he wanted to play. So we said, yeah, come along. So it's amazing when kids get an opportunity to resolve issues themselves. Sometimes they do it better than adults do. So again, a few little slides and the posters. I did an awful lot of artwork with the kids, and which they really enjoyed. And this is one I thought was really nice. So, but again, another one as well. So they did a lot of research on what was going on. 16. Okay. Somebody mentioned earlier on about a lawnmower. I'm going to come back to that because children aren't like a lawnmower. They're not like a kettle or a toaster. They come with no instructions. One day I wasn't a parent, the next day I was. Nobody told me what to do with them. I didn't know whether I was doing it right. I've got 3 of them. Sometimes I think I did really well, and other days I'm going, I haven't done any way well at all. So as a child, we were always taught to forgive and forget. And that's something that I'm coming to terms with, that forgetting isn't there. But we worked hard as a class to try and move on from that, it's not forgetting, it's not putting up with the hurt, it's not always about reconciliation, it's the moral decision to offer kindness and respect and generosity. And that was a big thing for the children in my school to understand. And children at 10, 11 years of age, as we've been going on with the program, did start to understand. But the influence we have as teachers on our pupils is quite scary. It's only now when one of my families have gone through and I've taught 5 of their children, and the letter of thank you that I got, you just realize. I'm also vice principal in the school, so you can imagine after recess or break or lunch times, I have a litany of children standing here with problems, somebody with a cut head, a teacher standing behind, could you please, these 2 were fighting, could you sort that out? At the start of the year, there would have been quite a number of my class there. As the program went on, the number of children in my class that I had to deal with, had lessened. And I think as adults, we seem to think, especially as educators, that we have to sort out all our children's problems, that there's an issue there, we need to sort it there and then, that the children can't go home without the parents knowing that issue has been sorted. But I've kind of let things go a little bit, and I've given the children themselves more courage to sort things out for themselves, to make their own decisions, to decide when they're going to forgive, to decide when they're going to be friends. And it made my classroom a better working environment. It made my classroom a more settled environment. And in fact, the quality of the work that I received from the children improved as well too. So that's where my big thing about it is. I think we need to let children be children, give them the skills to sort things out. Now, this is one of the biggest. That's the story I was talking about. This is a little child in my room, and she worked really, really hard on this. She was so proud of it, and she's just a beautiful artist. Our quilt as well too, which we made up. Now this is, obviously we have a proper quilt, but this was our drafting one as well, so all the children got involved. You notice I have 27 children in my classroom. There's not 27 quilts up there. COVID just has really impacted upon everything that happened. And again, as we worked our way through, this for me was very important as well. And forgiveness means that we can heal hearts, move on and be friends again, which for me was the big thing for children in primary school.
Forgiveness means that we can heal hearts, move on and be friends again.
I'll move on.
Forgiveness is a hand of friendship, sharing love, respect, and understanding.
Apologies for the sound there. And I'm just going to touch on this a little bit because I know Peter will be doing it in a little more detail. Or Philip, I should say. No. I'm just going to finish up. We did lots of group discussion, and that for me was the most important thing. And that for me is the key for children, allowing them to talk, allowing them to speak, and again, always about their group work, the discussion work. And for me, that means when children are talking together, it means so what worked well? Discussion, role play. We did a lot of drama with the children, hot seating, which I really enjoy doing with the children, giving them an opportunity to deal with a situation and then discuss how other children might deal with it. Question time, reflection. How did we do things? How did we do well? Thinking time, and paired and group work. And again, I love my art, and I did lots of artwork with the children, lots of painting. Again, we also did lots of storytelling. I'm going to move on because I'm just careful with time or conscious of time. I'm okay. This is one of the other things we have one of the initiatives in the school, which is one kind word or one kind little phrase that we put within the school as well too, to try and get our children to talk pleasantly to each other at all different ages. And again, the analogy of filling our buckets. And again, that was very important for us as well, about being kind and all those things that build within our school. I actually led a class online on forgiveness. And again, there's not 27 children up there. Every day, actually there wasn't any up there at that point, but every day every week I led an assembly. So this is one that we did on forgiveness, but every time we went to practice it, we had 2 off with COVID, 3 off with COVID, 4 off with COVID, 2 back in, 2 off. It was really, really difficult. But again, this is what we come up with at the end. Is a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance towards a person or a group of people who have committed pain upon you. This is what they come up with. And again, just to finish off, what is education? You know, we're preparing children to go to university? I don't think so. We're preparing children for life. We're preparing children to get jobs. We're preparing children to be contributing members of society. And we're finding out now that I've found that I need to prepare children for being treated unfairly. And that's been difficult for me as a learning process for me this year. So children need to learn how to deal with injustices in life when they're relatively small. Being good to those who are not good to you. In adulthood, they will be ready to deal with bigger issues. And that's what this fantastic program can do and will do. So again, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to come and speak.
Thank you, Cormac. Anyway, listen, good afternoon. As you heard already, my name is Philip Lavery, and I'm the Vice Principal of Mount St. Michael's Primary School in Randallstown. Not the principal, but I appreciate the promotion that I got there, so thank you. As I say, I've been in Randallstown for about 20 years and teaching for the last 33, so I reckon the light is nearly at the end of the tunnel for me. Listen, just before I continue, I'd like just to acknowledge and appreciate the work that my colleague Peter Devaney, sitting up there in the pink shirt, give us a wave, Peter, has done on forgiveness. Has done on forgiveness education and helping me with the presentation this afternoon as well. On behalf of Peter and myself, many thanks to Dr. Enright and his team, and also to the team in Stranmillis University in Belfast for this wonderful opportunity. Wonderful opportunity for our pupils and staff to be involved in forgiveness education, and also the wonderful opportunity to travel here and to share our practices and learn from others from around the world. So it's really humbling. Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank my new friends and colleagues from Northern Ireland who've travelled over with me today, or not today, this week, for their support and encouragement as well. And a special shout out to Anita Gracie, who is hopefully watching online, should have been here, but unfortunately wasn't able to make it. So we hope you enjoy the show, Anita. Listen, just to say, Randallstown is our town. not the Thornton Wilder play, by the way, but it's a small town in County Antrim. It's about 20 miles to the northeast of Belfast, and is situated on the shores of Lough Neagh, which is the largest freshwater lake in Europe. It's an absolutely beautiful place to grow up. It's also home to the delicious Lough Neagh eel. So if you ever see it on a menu, have it. It's absolutely delicious. Best barbecued, actually, but there you go. We're very close to the wonderful and absolutely fabulous Giant's Causeway. It's a World Heritage Centre, and the beautiful green glens of Antrim. So we live in a lovely, lovely place. The image that we have here is of the top image, that is the disused viaduct, which goes over the River Main as you go into the town. And it's recently been repurposed as a garden area and a social meeting area to bring people from both sides of the community together in a beautiful and wonderful environment. For those who are familiar, it's quite similar, but a very small version of New York's High Line, if you're familiar with that. So we copied them. So listen, it's a vibrant town. It's got lots of clubs of sporting and otherwise. There are great opportunities to go for walks. Randallstown Forest is very close by. We have lots of little attractions. There's a world of owls, believe it or not. And the most recent development is paintballing. I know they shouldn't really be firing anything at each other, but we've decided to do that. But anyway, it's in the grounds of Shane's Castle. It's certainly a welcoming place. And the question after I've just finished this is, why do I not live there? Maybe I should. So I actually don't live in Randallstown. I live about 20 miles away. But also on the shores of Lough Neagh. So there you go. So, our school. So I was looking for a nice image to share with you of our school. Unfortunately, we don't have one. Our school is was established 125 years ago, and every now and then bits and pieces have been added onto it, and it's an amalgamation of different types of architectural styles and designs. We have no green spaces. It's just not very pretty. There's no grass at all. So I decided on this one because I think this is our school. So this is an image of a teacher and a pupil, and I'll refer to it again shortly, but they're actually on a 5K run on a Saturday morning together. I'm not in the image because I was a little further back. So our school is not a building. It is the people who work there and learn there that make it a special place. And I think it is a special place. So we focus definitely on the core learning, on the numeracy, on the literacy, on the ICT, and on religion, Father. We do a bit of that too. But the overwhelming and positive messages we get from those who visit our school is about the welcome they get from the children and the staff. And by staff, I do not mean the teachers. I mean the teachers and the learning assistants, everybody. So, they talk about a vibe or a buzz about the school, and that is the closest image I could get to the vibe. So that's it visually, as far as I'm concerned. So the pastoral care of our pupils is a priority for the leaders in the school. We follow an agreed set of values, which we pulled together ourselves, and I'll refer to them later on in the presentation. So these values guide our decision-making and our interactions with our pupils, between ourselves as staff, and with our parents. And I'll return to these a little later. So we are an eco school, so we emphasize to our school community the need to care for our world. We're heavily involved in drama, music, sport. We have links with lots of local clubs, and to be honest, we will give everything and anything a go if there's a potential benefit and a potential new experience for either our pupils or our staff. In the last few years, again, with the help of colleagues in Stranmillis University in Belfast, we have developed into a champion school for a thing called the Daily Mile. We take children out for exercise. They run a mile or walk a mile every day or every other day when it's not raining, and sometimes when it is raining. But research into this has found the benefits of exercise, not just for our physical health, but also for our mental health. And actually, this picture came about because we ran a running club with our primary 7 pupils after school. And the way we celebrated the conclusion of the club was to go on a thing called a park run. I'll not go into details what a park run is, but it happens every Saturday over at home. And so we had the children. We had about 7 teachers or so give up their Saturday morning, and they came and they ran with us. It was a really fulfilling event. We promote positive health through a thing called Take 5 Steps to Mental Well-being, and we teach and demonstrate with the children strategies that will help with their mental health if they feel they're struggling. So we also promote educational collaboration and peace building in our local area, and we're part of a 21-school educational partnership. And just this moment in time, I happen to be the chair of it for my sins. So look, we are much more than a building, and I suppose that helps to explain why we were so willing and so happy to get on board and involved with forgiveness education. It really fits into the ethos of our school and the ethos of our school community. So, where are we? Lesson 3, the inherent worth in giving, seeking, and receiving forgiveness. And you can see, as Cormac referred to earlier, some of the patchwork quilting that the children did as part of the program they were involved in. Okay? Yeah, and I think they're all smiling, which is quite good. So, just bear with me a sec. Now, so lesson 3, again, it's as Cormac referred to, the tiger in the long grass. So we read and we discussed the story, did some illustrations and activities in the forgiveness journals. The children really latched on to the concept of inherent worth, particularly as you get to the bottom of the slide here, the whole notion of a person is a person, no matter how, whatever. So the children were very honest about times that they maybe failed to acknowledge others, to see worth in others, and that they could see that that was actually a factor in maybe some of the arguments and disagreements and how that they had in the playground and how maybe they treated each other unfairly. So they came up with a person's a person no matter what football team they support, no matter if they wear Nike trainers or not, okay? No matter what, we have children from different ethnic diversities and what country they come from, if they have glasses, if they support a different soccer team. And that was getting in that to get a real understanding of this notion of worth, we thought, okay? And then they began to link that into our school values. I mentioned it earlier. I'm not sure if it's clear on the screen or not, but the values that we agreed in our school were values that we care for each other, we trust, we show respect, honesty, acknowledgement, inclusiveness, and forgiveness. And the forgiveness value is not one we added in recently. That's been there for 15 years because we all make mistakes, But that concept linked really well with the idea of worth. That people are worth. If you see the worth in people, they're worth caring for. If you see the worth in people, that they're worth acknowledging and trusting and forgiving. So what they were learning through the program was speaking to them in regards to what they had experienced in the school through 6 years of being with us as well. So that's why it seemed to gel. Everything seemed to gel very well in that regard. Okay. So there we have, just mentioning journaling. The journaling activity that the children got involved in, this is something we didn't really do an awful lot in school beforehand. And it seemed to be a really, really good way of getting the children to think and consider and record their understandings and their experiences. And what was quite interesting was that we did get some children who were happy to share some of these experiences about their personal histories. And some of the things that were shared were quite difficult to hear, but also explained how maybe the child presented in class and behaved with others. And it was very brave of them to do that. And we really, really appreciate it and acknowledge that. At the same time, some children wrote in their journals but decided not to share. And that was totally their prerogative. But they were still getting their thoughts down, and they were still working on their feelings. And they suggested that sometimes they didn't see their own deep worth. Sometimes they didn't see the value in themselves. And this actually was something that resurfaced later on in the school year. As part of a program the Department of Education rolled out, there was some funding for counsellors to come into school to speak with children. Because of anything, the last 2 years have just increased the levels of anxiety, the emotional baggage that children are carrying, and how they're dealing with resilience. So counselling was seen as a way to do that. And there was one young guy in Primary 7 in particular, Kyron. And Kyron would always come for a check-in with me, at least once a week. He was booked in on a Wednesday, 1:20. He wasn't booked in, he booked himself in. But it was really interesting when the counsellor started to share some of the things that he was talking about with her. He was able to talk about himself being angry. And through the course of discussions, he was starting to link in the notion of him being of value. He thought he was useless. He thought he had no skills. He thought people didn't like him. But he was gradually starting to develop an understanding of his own self-worth, not just as a sportsman, but just as himself. And he was a challenged child, but definitely the work that had started with forgiveness education, maybe couched in the work of our values, is starting to get him to see that he is much, much more than what he thinks he is. He does have tremendous value as well. So, lesson 4 was agape love in giving and seeking and receiving forgiveness. Again, there's our patterns up above. So we completed chapters 3 and 4, and they were starting to develop this understanding of agape love. And I know I'll round up here because you run short on time, but this was what was starting to become a mind-blowing thing for myself and Peter. If you look at the third point down, the notion that agape love being essential to peace and reconciliation between two communities in Northern Ireland. This is the children went from reading and talking about a story about a, whilst beautiful and amazing tiger in long grass that was fiction, and brought it into their own experiences of where they lived, into their own context. Because you can't escape in Northern Ireland from where we are, and there's 2 communities and all the rest of it. And this wasn't something that actually teachers led them to. They found this themselves. And I just thought that the sort of bottom point here, one child suggested during the lesson evaluation that the agape love could be contagious and spread more and more if people learned to do it. I just thought that was incredible. We have a phrase at home, and it's called out of the mouths of babes, which is sometimes you get simple truths from children when you give them the opportunity to think. And this is what this program has definitely allowed us to do. And then we have this corner of truth and beauty. So it's just personalizing their own symbols of forgiveness and their own symbols of love. And they really engaged in this and liked the artwork and all the rest that was involved in it. So I'll just go on to a final slide, you'd be pleased to hear. So I'd like to introduce you to Thomas and Owen. They came into school after school had finished. Actually, all the children had gone home, finished early, away to enjoy their summer holidays. And we firmly believe that forgiveness education in Mount St. Michael's shouldn't end with Thomas and Owen, and shouldn't end with the class of 22. In fact, the class of 22 should be the first ones to truly benefit from the learning that's possible in the delivery of forgiveness education. So we aim to share our experiences more fully when we get back to with our staff, because we're kind of just finishing and getting things tidied up here. We want to celebrate this learning in our community. We want to incorporate it into projects across the Key Stage, and very, very importantly, we want to reflect on what we have learned with our partners in the other schools in our partnership. So, oh, sorry, I've lifted the wrong page. Apologies. So, just to conclude, in Mount St. Michael's, we've really enjoyed this learning journey. Our pupils have benefited from it, and they've benefited from the exposure to the language and the concepts around love and forgiveness. As Peter and I reflected, and as I've just mentioned, conversations with 11-year-old children, we can see how framing discussions in this context can encourage more thoughtful consideration of where we are as a community. I'm not sure if a lot of people in the room are aware, but in Northern Ireland, we recently celebrated 25 years of the signing of the Good Friday Agreement, and which was brought peace to Northern Ireland. And we are in such a better place than we were then, and certainly in such a better place than we were when I was growing up. However, peace to me at home seems like an absence of fighting and conflict. And there's so much more to do in recognizing the inherent worth in all of our communities, and acknowledging our own worth, developing a collective awareness and understanding around agape love and forgiveness would be transformative in Northern Ireland. The discussions resulting from not just lessons 3 and 4, but through the whole programme, were powerful and full of hope. And, I think it's our role as educators, and I am so encouraged just listening to what has gone before and in conversations with our friends and colleagues that have arrived from Northern Ireland today, or this week. There's so much more we can do to develop and embed the messages. And basically what we've got to do at home is we've just got to spread the love. So listen, thank you very much. Thank you.